Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am joined by super producer Janet today live. How's it going, Janet?
It's good. It's Friday. Yay, I'm so happy. And I tell you what, I've been under a lot of pressure this week appearing on Love and Reload. So I'm like, whew, it's done.
It's stressful being on this side of the camera, isn't it?
Yes, very.
No, but you've done a fantastic job, Janet. I just want to say thank you again for putting together this fantastic week of women in trucking and relocation. I think, well, let me just ask you here as we're on our own Friday, the last day here. What's been your favorite part so far?
Well, first, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. I know you were a little nervous about it and you just let me run with it. And I appreciate that. You're always letting me be stretched and pushing me. So that's been fun. It's hard to say. All week, I thought was fantastic. But yesterday I just was touched by the stories of the truckers against trafficking. It's just amazing. We take for granted. We see trucks on the road. We don't even probably think of them as people with families. And here they are being ambassadors to help lives. And it was just beautiful. I loved yesterday's segment. Meant a lot.
Yeah, it was a great segment. It's a great segment. Well, today's Friday. And it is going to be a really fun one today, too, because today we're actually bringing truckers to you. We got lady truckers here, okay? Janet found two drivers, convinced them, hey, y'all, you ain't got to work today. It's Friday. Chill out. You ain't got to, haul nothing today. No, but these ladies took important time out of their schedule. They only get paid when they're running. So they took important time out of their schedule, and I appreciate them so much for being here. We've got Cindy Kaps and Tina Smoot, who pull for Corrigan United, which is a competitor of mine, but a great company just down the street. But I got to give them props to Corrigan for having two lady drivers who are phenomenal, and I can't wait for them to come out and tell us a little bit about running the road and some of the challenges they face and just enlighten us a little bit to the life of a driver. I'm really excited to hear their perspective from the cab.
And maybe even encourage people who might be listening as women and, young women that don't know what to do with their lives and didn't realize that being in the trucking industry or being a driver or owner operator is something they could do. So it's pretty awesome.
So we're going to get started. So go ahead, if you're watching right now, leave a comment, hit that like button, hit that heart, send it out there to Cindy and Tina, and let's just get it cracking here. All right, Jen?
Yep, I'm ready.
So we've got Cindy coming out and Tina. How are y'all doing today?
Great. How are you?
Fantastic. Okay. So first of all, where in the world are y'all right now? Because I know that y'all probably travel all 48 states. Where in the world are you right now currently? Tina, let's start with you.
I'm at home in Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay, fantastic. Jackson, Mississippi. That's where my nice. So you're passing through Jackson and you decided just, let me just chill here and do this video with Janet and Ben, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. My grandfather's from Jackson, Mississippi. So very cool. Cindy, where are you right now?
I'm actually at my sister's house in Omaha, Nebraska.
Wow, that's awesome.
Now, is that where you live?
No, I actually live in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, which is on the other end of the state.
Okay.
Do y'all have the opportunity to kind of pass through and stay in familiar places more often than not? Or how often do y'all get to stay at home or even maybe at a relative? Cindy, you want to
okay, sure. This year, of course, we do trade shows. So this year has been really difficult. I've been home a lot more than I had anticipated. But for the most part, my husband and I travel together. So we're home. Basically, we go home about once every 3 months. We always take a month off at Christmas. We're at home at right before Christmas until after Christmas. My husband's birthday is right before Christmas, and we got married on the 31st of December.
So you always been at home.
Yeah, we're always at home for that. Yes.
What's that like running with your husband?
Pretty much it's okay most of the time. I always tell ladies, if I go into a store or something, they're like, "Oh, are you traveling?" And I'm like, "Yes and no." And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I drive a truck." And they're like, "Oh, that's so cool." And I'm like, "It is cool, but it also gets a little tight in there sometimes, and they don't understand exactly why." So I tell them, "You go home this weekend and you lock yourself in the bathroom with your husband. You can't not go anywhere without him. You're stuck together the whole weekend." Then I get the looks like, "Wait, I don't think I could do that."
Yep.
But that's basically what we live in. We're used to it. So we're good with that.
Yeah, I right now I have a little tiny home in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. My husband and I now live in Florida, but we've been here for a little over a month in a 14 by 30 something, 36, tiny home. So it's like, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. So I can't imagine in a cab of a truck constantly. Yeah.
And Tina, how often do you get home?
Sometimes like 4 to 6 weeks. It all depends. But like she says, since we've been not working, so I'm staying out a little bit longer, trying to make up some time.
Mm-hmm. What do people, so we have people, that are watching this right now that are in relocation and global mobility. And what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and check in with them real quick, see what their comments are. And I'd love to hear your questions, your comments, for Tina and for Cindy. And then I want to understand a little bit more about what people don't know about what it is y'all do on a day-to-day basis. Because I have a feeling, I think a lot of people think we know, but we don't really know, I think. So let's go ahead and check in real quick with everybody here. My dad's checking in. Janet, you are the greatest.
Aww.
Thanks for all you do.
Thanks, Mr. Cross. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Dad. Victoria McCullough checking in from Dallas. Hi, Ben and Janet. Great week of phenomenal women in a male-dominated industry.
Thanks, Victoria.
Hey, Victoria, good to see you. My dad says, "Lady truckers rock the road." My dad.
He's smart. He's smart. Come on, give him a nice.
Dad's over there trying to make some T-shirts or something. I don't know what he's trying to do, but
that is a cute T-shirt.
Let's see. Jennifer Anderson, happy Friday. Love this topic. Can't wait to hear from Cindy and Tina. Jennifer, I think your service is actually something that Cindy and Tina could probably use, and people and drivers like them could use. So maybe ask a question regarding some of the claims and things. I think that's an interesting angle there. Simon Johns coming into us from the UK, from the United Kingdom. Happy Friday. Up there. Hey, Simon, good to see you. Simon's in a moving company up there. Sandra Clary. Hi, Cindy and Constantine. Very excited to see you here. Thank you for all that you do. Hey, Sandra, good to see you. Henry Dussois, good evening and day to you all. He's up there in France right now. I'd love to, Henri, would you tell us a little bit or ask a question about drivers and compare them maybe to the what you have in France there?
Yeah, are there any female drivers?
Do you have female drivers? Yeah, Henri, yeah. Good question. Fabio Marquez, hi from Brazil. Fabio, I want to know if you guys have female drivers out there in Brazil. Linda from London, hello. Hey, Linda, good to see you. All right, so back to kind of the question here, Tina and Cindy, what do people not know about being a driver that you think people should know?
Tina, you take that one first.
Well, I think people don't realize, trucking is really tiring because they think you're just sitting and driving, but it's more mental than anything, having to deal with all the stress around you. And especially with like a lot of the new drivers and the distractions that you have out there. Mm-hmm. And we don't just sit and drive. We're actually driving not just for ourselves, but for everyone in their families as well.
Right.
How do you deal with that mental fatigue or that tiredness or that exhaustion when that sets in? I mean, what kind of hours are you clocking on the road, and how are you dealing with that and making that happen?
Well, for me, it's I've been doing this since '98, so it's not as difficult as it was when I first started. So, but when I do get tired, I just kind of pull over a little bit and stretch. I have a dog, so I get a chance to take him out. and that helps out a lot.
How did you ladies come to be truck drivers?
Well,
if you don't mind me switching the subject, Ben.
Well, I don't know if you remember the show where it was BJ and the Bear and they had the lady truckers.
No,
I don't.
What is this?
What?
Tell me about it. I don't know anything
You don't
about
know
this.
BJ and the Bear? Come on.
Well, he's probably not old enough, but when I was younger, there was a show called BJ and the Bear, and one of the truckers had a monkey out there, and they had lady truckers. And I told my mom I wanted to be a truck driver, and when I told her I was thinking about it in '98, she said, "Well, what are you waiting on?"
Wow.
So we started.
So it was something that was in there for a long time. That's amazing.
Cindy,
Yeah.
what got you into being a driver?
Actually, one of my mom's friends was a driver years ago. And I was in a dead-end job. I was waitressing, bartending, that kind of stuff. And I saw an ad in the paper and it said, "Want to drive a truck? Come to school." So I did. I told my sister, I said, "I'm going to go drive a truck." And she went, "Are you crazy?" And I said, "Probably," but I did it anyway. So,
What's that got to do with anything?
and I've been on the road since 1987.
All right, so let's see here. Cindy's been on the road since '87. Tina's been on the road since '98. You make the decision in your mind that says, "Okay, I want to be a driver." Whether you saw a show or you saw someone else in your life doing it, but then what went into actually getting into the cab of your own truck and getting on the road? I mean, it's not as simple as just saying, "Hey, I want to be a driver." I mean, there's stuff that goes into it.
Well, I mean, you go to school. Years and years ago, you always hear the old timers go, "They just threw me the keys and said, go drive." Well, you can't do that anymore. You have to go through a school. I went through a school and I liked it, and there again, I didn't start out in a truck like they have nowadays. I started out in cab over. When I got my first hood, I thought I was wrecking it. I honestly, I thought I was headed for the ditch all the time until I got used to driving that hood out there. Because a cab over's flat faced, you don't see anything in front of you. So it was difficult to start with, but I still like what I do. That's the whole issue right there. You have to like it. It's a lot of people say it's a job. It's not a job. It is a lifestyle. It is a career. And I plan to retire from it, hopefully within the next 4 or 5 years.
Did you meet your husband?
I met him through truck driving school, to be honest with you.
Okay.
We both went to the same school, and he looked at me and went, "You think we could go ahead and team up? What do you think?" And I said, "Sure." So we did. We've been together ever since.
Wow.
That's a crazy story. So you just, hey, you want to team up? That's how they do in truck driving and CDL school. Hey, you want to team up? And all of a sudden, run a tandem. That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you experienced any resistance from people in your lives or even from strangers when they see you hopping out of the truck, or, when you tell people what you do? Have you experienced prejudice from men maybe in the industry? Tell us some about that.
Years ago, you always heard, "Why aren't you home having babies and taking care of your man?" Okay. Tina's laughing. She thinks it's funny. And my response usually was, "I don't like kids. I don't have any kids. The old man's sleeping in the bunk and I am taking care of him. So what do you want to say?" And that usually shut him up pretty fast.
The old man sleeping in the bunk. So what else you want from my life? I love it. What about you, Tina? Tell me about your story as far as what were some of the challenges that you faced being a lady trucker?
Well, for me, I mean, I haven't faced any challenges with any negative things at all out here. I mean, by me being 5'2", the most thing I get is, "Are you really driving that truck? You're so little."
That's great. We got some comments coming in here as well. Love to hear your questions for these drivers. Love to hear your comments as well here. We got Janaína from Brazil checking in. Happy Friday from Brazil. Excited to hear more inspiring stories. Thanks, Janet, once again for this amazing week. Janaína, do we have any female truckers down in Brazil that you know, Janaína? I'd love to hear that. Henri says, "Sure, we have female drivers. They can stand their own out there. Kudos to them."
Yeah.
Fantastic. Henri out in Crown up in France. Simon John says, my dad has a lodge in the Poconos near Jack Frost Ski Resort. Janet, you know where that is?
I know exactly where that is. Yes.
Oh, all
It's
right.
about 35 minutes from me.
Good that.
Oh,
Sandra Clary is all about this show. And Henri, women deserve respect in any job and they deserve respect, period.
True.
All right. Jamie Massler, hello, Ben and ladies. Cheers from the sunny, cooler Mississippi. Jamie's down there in Mississippi too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Henri, kind of on the same token there. Women deserve respect for their career choice, whatever it is. Actually, women. Okay, we see. And then we got Deb checking in here too. This is interesting. Deb LeBrie, I think you know her.
I do.
I'd love to hear this story. Deb says Cindy encouraged us to become owner-operators in 2014. I was so nervous, but Cindy was with me every step of the way. Best decision we ever made. What's that story about, Cindy?
Well, they were, it's one of those deals. A lot of people don't want to take the jump into being owner-operators. And
let me stop you right there. Let's define that, because there's a lot of people watching right here that don't know what an owner-operator is. So let's just take a moment to talk about that.
Okay, owner-operators, you buy your own vehicle, you buy your own truck. Some people buy their own trailer. Some people have their own authority, and that means they go to load boards, they get their own loads, and they don't have any middleman. Owner-operators, you buy your truck, and we're leased onto Corrigan, and they find the freight for us, and we pull their freight. It's the same way with any kind of freight. If it's like a produce or it's a dry box or a flatbed or whatever, they find the freight and slap it on your wagon and away you go. Some people are on dedicated runs. We're not. We just go where the freight takes us.
And it's interesting. I actually had a president of an RMC that came to visit us here in Farmington Hills, not too far from Corrigan's headquarters. And we were talking to them and kind of educating them about this. And they did not know that the driver owns the truck and the agency owns the trailer. Yes. A lot of times too. Of course, it can vary, but they didn't know that. And so I think that's interesting to note. And I think that it's interesting to remember that these ladies and gentlemen that are driving these trucks actually own these rigs, and then how does that change the way that you look at your job, Cindy and Tina?
Well, I don't know that it changes the way I look at it, because I was a company driver first. Before we took the plunge, we bought our first truck in 1999, and what I did was I watched, and I kept a ledger for over a year. When I was a company driver, I knew what the loads paid. I knew what we paid for fuel. I know what I estimated on insurance and all of that. And that's what I used to decide I can own one of these. There's no sense in paying, letting them have all of it instead of me. So, because if you're an owner operator, you're getting more money, but you also have more expenses. All the repairs and everything on that tractor is yours.
That's interesting. And Tina, I'm getting just a bit of feedback, so I'm just going to mute you, okay? And then I'm going to ask you a question here in a minute. But that's interesting. I want to, and we're going to get to Deb's story here, because I love hearing stories. But I think this is so critical to understand the way this works. So, what types of expenses do you bear the burden of? And the reason I bring this up is because I want people to understand how much responsibility these drivers have.
Oh,
so
well,
what's up?
Okay. You have, all right. One, you have your payment, of course. It's just like buying a car. You have to make payments on it.
Yep.
If it's not under warranty, and even if it is, you still have repairs that you have to make. The tires, the fuel is all yours. The company doesn't pay for the fuel. Insurance, of course. At least your bobtail insurance, and usually the loaded part of it, they have coverage for that. The company does that. Unless you're an owner operator and you have your own authority and your own trailer, then you're responsible for the whole 9 yards.
Right. So you have your own workers' comp too, I believe, probably, don't you? You have your own workers' comp. They cover the cargo, but you have the workers' comp. Correct. So there's a lot of expenses that go into this, And so when I talk to our relocation management companies and our corporate clients out there and our our freight clients, I always try to make it known to them how much all the cost items that go into this, and how important it is to make sure that the drivers are taken care of, and that we're frankly charging enough to make sure that we can pass along enough money to the drivers and put it to the curb, as we say.
Exactly.
And as an owner operator, you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
You're running
Yes,
your
you
own business pretty much, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
If you hire labor, if you have a load that requires labor, you have to pay that yourself. Or does that get paid?
That depends.
Okay.
You know, it's a little bit different in our industry. We don't have lumpers. Sometimes we do have to have labor, but with my husband and I, we usually are able to do it ourselves. You know, Tina, you're a solo. If you have a load, I'm sure you do have to have labor on occasion, do you not?
Sometimes, if there's times they have not showed up and I had to do it myself.
Oh, that's nice.
Tina, let me ask you, have you seen a change in the cost of labor recently?
Yes, it is. It's more than what it was when I first started.
To give us an idea, just, percentage increase. I mean, what are you seeing here as far as the increase in the cost of labor?
Well, I know at one time it was like maybe $15 an hour, but now it's like $200 a day for certain loads.
Wow. Yeah. That's what I'm seeing on these driver boards too. I mean, and the compensation hasn't really changed a whole lot, and yet the cost has gone through the roof, and I think that's another thing that we should make sure that we touch on. But I'm gonna go back here real quick, Cindy. We still got this question from Deb hanging out there, so I want to hear the story. It sounds like you really encouraged them. Tell us about that.
Well, I try, and a lot of first-time buyers are nervous, but you have to decide, okay, this is what I want, and if you want it bad enough, then you turn around and you do it, and then you work for it, and they are doing wonderful. I can't believe she said that. But anyway, I mean, they're doing great. I mean, they're on their second truck, and they own their own trailer now. So they're doing wonderful,
That's
now,
great.
So is Deb a Corrigan person as well?
No, she pulls for Landstar.
Okay, and
but I know her through Facebook.
Oh, okay. So there's like
we're both admins. We're both admins on the Facebook site of the Women in Trucking site.
Okay. Through the Women in Trucking organization?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
We have our own Facebook. The Women in Trucking, I actually joined Women in Trucking organization before I became a Facebook admin. And I've been a Facebook admin now. I think I'm going on 8 years or 9 years on Facebook for them. And I've been with the Women in Trucking organization for 9.
You talk about Facebook, and I think people hear that and they just kind of, oh, Facebook. But it's actually like a really big deal. These driver groups on Facebooks are like serious business, aren't they?
They can be. They can be. I mean, we do. We have rules on ours. We don't allow a lot of things that other Facebook sites for the trucking industry allow. And a lot of people get upset with us because of it, but we are a safe site for new drivers. If people have questions, they can come to us and they are not ridiculed. And if they are, then the person that did it is taken off the site, or they are put in timeout, because that's not what we're about. We're there to encourage and help, not slam them down.
Tina, I've got a question here for you from our audience here. And I'm actually going to ask you both. I'm going to start with you, Tina. Jack Jampel, what's up, Jack? Jack says, what was the scariest weather story you have driving your truck?
My first time driving without my trainer, my first week I was sent into Washington. Never driven in snow. And I was in Snoqualmie. And there, I kept hearing people saying it was a lot of cussing going on the CD, and somebody said, "You hit my truck," and it was just I was freaking out because I didn't know what was going on. I thought maybe it was me because I could barely see. And next thing you know, I just came to a halt. My trailer was on the side of me. A jackknife.
Oh,
My first
man.
week without my trainer.
Oh, man.
And what ended up happening was a truck had lost the brakes, and he was hitting a lot of trucks. So when the state trooper got there, I was so nervous. He said, "Can you step out?" I said, "No." I said, I'm shaking to that. So he said, "I want you to see something." That truck ended up right behind me. If my truck wouldn't have jackknifed, he would have hit me.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
So
Talk
that
about
was
an angel.
I've
Talk
been-
about a little angel moving the truck over or something.
Yes. He said God must have did that on purpose. That's
Wow.
what the trooper told me.
How long do you drive with the trainer?
6 weeks. Not like they do now for a week or two. No, it was 6 weeks.
And Cindy, what about you? Any kind of crazy weather stories or scary moments out there?
Oh yeah. I have bizarre things happen to me. They don't happen to anybody else. I mean, honestly, they don't happen to anybody else. I have my very first accident. I've had more than one, but none of them were my fault. Okay, let me put it that way. The very first one, 4 a.m. in the morning, I had a Volkswagen laying on its side in the middle of the road in the dark, and his tires were facing me. So I didn't see him until the last minute. So I moved over and I spun the car into the hammer lane, and I got stopped. And there was another driver behind me. I yelled at him on the radio. He got everybody stopped behind me. And the 3 kids were sitting on the inside shoulder instead of the right shoulder. If I would have went to the left instead of the right, I would have ran over 3 kids.
Wow.
Man.
Knock on wood, they were out of my way. So, and my husband, I woke him up. He was in the bunk sleeping, and he goes, what tire did you blow? And I said, I didn't blow a tire, I hit a car. And he goes, what? You know, I mean, it was just, yeah. So that was my first bizarre accident. My next bizarre accident was I had a fully inflated tire laying in the road in the dark, in the rain. I was passing another truck and I hit it and I went airborne. My hood flew open, flew back shut. And the guy behind me goes, dang, you're airborne. I'm like, no kidding. You know, so I got pulled off to the side, and no damage except my steering wheel was in a different position when I came back down. And I have jackknifed. I'm with Tina. I have done that. It was on ice, and I was doing what I was supposed to do, and I had 3 trucks pass me doing 70 miles an hour on solid sheet of ice. The wind from them took my tractor, not my trailer, took my tractor over, slapped the side of my trailer, and it slapped it back, and I got it to the shoulder instead of it flapping around and going back. So that's my stories.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's frightening. I
It
have
was.
a question about the same kind of thing. I get nervous when I see those ramps that you know, like say in the mountains of Colorado, and they have those truck ramps.
Runaway ramps.
Yeah, I can't even imagine having to do that. Have you guys ever had to?
No. Grace B, no, we have not.
Yeah,
I haven't.
But
No, that was the only thing that I had experienced, and from that day on, it taught me a lesson.
Park it when it gets bad enough.
Yes.
Park. Yep, exactly. There ain't nothing in that trailer worth your life.
do you get a lot of pressure from shippers, or you know, get it there, and then you know?
Yeah, they do push at times, but you know, the thing is, you're in control. Nobody else. You're the one that's sitting there behind that wheel. You are the one that's in control of that truck. And so I've always asked dispatch, do you want it there safely, or do you want it laying in a ditch somewhere?
Yeah, I can imagine.
So if you're watching this right now and you are a shipper, or you are a person that purchases moving or freight services or trade show services, and you know, I know we all want it there quicker, you know, especially nowadays, everything's, you know, never fast enough. But just remember, there's real people's lives at stake here, and there's real people behind the wheel, and there's other people on the road, and it's more important to be there safe than to risk getting in an accident. So give your transportation providers a little bit of a break, all right?
Yes.
And tell that tripper they can tell that transfer they can stay in temp housing one more day. Okay, it'll be all right.
When you stop and sleep, I mean, I don't know if they have campgrounds for, trucks, but is it mainly truck stops, or do you get to go to any pretty places?
Mainly truck stops.
Yes.
There are some campgrounds that do allow the tractors in. You can't take the trailer, but there are some that will allow the tractors in.
Let me ask you, we were talking about safety as far as driving and accidents and things of that nature, but have you ever felt unsafe, or have you ever, has there ever been violence or anything like that out there on the road? And Tina, I'm going to ask you first. Have you ever had a situation like that where you felt unsafe due to violence or threats?
No, well, just once I was in Nashville and I went to stay at the customer, so I'd be there for the morning. But the area that I was in, back then there was they had prostitutes and it was drugs, people coming up asking me if I wanted to buy drugs. So I just found somewhere else and moved.
Yeah. Cindy, have you ever had situations where you felt unsafe due to violence or other people's actions?
No, to be honest, I have not.
Good.
It's one of those deals. One, you have to be aware of your surroundings to begin with. Safety is partly in your own hands. You learn. You don't walk through in between the trucks and trailers at night. You walk in the middle of the driveway, and I've never had any issues. I really haven't. And I mean, I know my husband's with me most of the time. I have been out by myself, and you just have to be aware of what you're doing. Stay off your phone and, keep your head on a swivel and walk with a purpose. Don't shuffle. I had one of my friends tell me I had the cockiest walk he's ever seen because I walk, I strut. I really do. So, I make sure that I've never been bothered.
Yeah.
Now, Tina, you have a husband that does not drive with you. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you leave home, and leave your husband behind and travel for. Okay.
Is that hard, Tina?
Sometimes, but for the most part, we support whatever we decide to do. So, but he's a medical tech, so believe me, with COVID-19, I mean, he has shoulder surgery, so right now he's not working. But before he had the injury, COVID-19 kept him very busy, and his mother lives with us, so I need him to be here with her in case something happens.
Okay.
Have you seen? It sounds like not so much with your particular situations, but have you seen other drivers, male or female, have trouble with family due to the nature of the job?
No, my daughter was young. I started out, my daughter was 12, and I put her on the truck with me for a little while. So she knows a little bit about what goes on out here and what mommy does. So yeah, she loved it, but it was time for her to go to high school, so I had to let her go back to school.
That's nice. That's a good experience for her. I was just thinking, sharing the road, what can we know as car drivers who are sharing the road with truck drivers? Do you have anything to say to us?
A lot, but Tina, you go first.
Well, mainly for me, just stay in your own lane and stay out of mine.
I guess my one of my things is it almost looks like sometimes the wheels on the trailer mesmerize drivers and they want to ride right there. And that takes away my safety cushion. Yeah. And that's part of the issue that I have. Pass me, get around me. Don't take my cushion. If something happens in front of me, I have to be able to move one way or the other. Don't ride alongside of me. That's my biggest issue. And please, people, I know you think that you all are just perfect. Stay off your phones. You're not perfect. You can't text and drive at the same time. And that's truck drivers and car drivers. Stay off your phones.
So now you spoke about a radio. Do you mean a CB? Do you guys still use CBs?
Oh, absolutely. I do. You know,
Okay.
a lot of people don't, but
Mhm.
they've saved me a lot. Be it bad weather, be it a wreck, be it getting around something, be it something laying in the road. Yes, I still use a radio. A lot
How
of
about
people
you,
don't.
Tina?
No, I still have one, but I mean, nobody really talks on them anymore, and I'm surprised when they do. I know when we started, I mean, even though, you know, like the few women that were out there, you know, if a woman come across, you know, you might hear, or there's a baby doll, hey, baby doll. But now if a woman comes on there, the B word is not what you want to hear.
No.
So I try to stay off of it. I don't use it anymore. I just listen.
Yeah.
I got we got some great questions coming in. I want to make sure we get to all these questions in here as well. If you got questions for Tina or Cindy, let us know. Love to take your questions. Sandra says, when I buy a personal car, I have to sit in several to find a car that is designed for someone my size. How difficult is it to find a cab that is suited to your height and size? Tina, let's start with you.
Well, for me, I'm short, so, and it's easy. I'm convenient in any truck for me.
What about the pedals and stuff? I mean, I heard back in the day they redesigned the cabs now, but back in the day it was hard because the pedals and things weren't ergonomically designed for women's bodies. Is the pedals? I mean, is that an issue still, or no, not at all? Forgive my ignorance.
Well, the Peterbilt for me, when I had a Peterbilt, was the most difficult one because I couldn't see over the dash unless I had the seat all the way up, and it was hard for me to engage my clutch unless I let it back down. So I had to kind of go up and down.
Oh, that could be dangerous for sure. What about you?
When traffic stopped in traffic, and you have to constantly like go a little bit and stop a little bit. So yeah.
Cindy, what about you? You know, in the cab there, what have you found over the years?
You know, some of them are easier. Again, I drive a Freightliner, so my situation's a little bit different. I have a hood. My truck is an older truck. It's an 01. So I have the big long hood in front of me. And I mean, you have to pay attention. You have to really pay attention to what you're doing. But I agree with her on the old style Peterbilts, especially because they came from the floor and you had to literally almost stand up to get those pedals down. Whereas now they're from the, you know, I don't know if the Peterbilts still have them on the floor or not like that. So I haven't been in a Peterbilt for a long time. But
well, the devils are Lord now.
I got a question for you. We've been seeing a lot of legislative changes, right? First thing was CARB, then was, you know, hours of service. Gosh, there's a ton. AB5, right? You know, what are your thoughts on some of these, you know, some legislation that's coming out? Is it impacting your job and your career?
I don't go to California anymore because I have an older truck. I didn't retro. I didn't put the def on it. You know, I think it's maybe at the start of it, it hurt, but for the most part, no. Hours of service, again, I'm a teen. You know, it doesn't impact me as much as a solo driver. So that, you know, and they've done now the 30-minute break that we used to have to stop for, and you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that. You had to be off duty or in the berth or whatever. They've changed that now. That's one of the new rules that just came down. But again, it's one of those deals that it's time management. You had time management before when you were on paper logs, before the ELDs. And a lot of people blame the ELDs for everything, and it's not their fault. You know, it's time management. It's your time management. But again, shippers, receivers, they hold these trucks, and then they say, you have to leave the premises, and you've been sitting there for 10 hours. Well, your time is up. You know, so something needs to be done with the shippers and receivers more than the drivers.
And just for everybody that's watching, ELDs are electronic logging devices. Is that correct? ELD, electronic logging devices,
Correct.
which basically logs the amount of time that a truck is in operation, and it's designed to keep safe and then to be within the hours of service. And then in the present hours of service is what now?
11 driving, 14 on duty.
So you can be on duty 14 hours. You can be driving 11. For those of you in the moving business, those 3 hours could be used presumably in the home, as well. But now it's capped at 14 on and 11 driving. So that's actually, what's interesting is for those of you also in the moving and relocation business, we had a driver shortage before, or it's been reported in the household goods industry. And now by compressing those hours of service down to 11, believe it or not, people are driving more, safe or not, to make things happen, especially in the summertime. And now that's been pretty much a hard and fast 11 now with the electronic logging devices.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, Tina, the same question. How has some of this new regulation impacted you, and looking forward to some of the to new regulations that are proposed, like AB5 in some areas, and the classification between contractors and things like that? How do you see regulation impacting your ability to be successful in your role?
Well, it hasn't really impacted me in any way, because once I get behind the wheel, I'm one of those that I'm going to drive, and if I have to take my 30-minute, I'll take, but when we're doing the 30-minute, and then I'll just get back and keep going. I don't stop a whole lot. So it usually, I can do everything within the time allowed.
Okay. So really these regulations haven't had much of an impact. That's interesting, because I've heard a lot about it from AMSA, from ATA, from agency owners and everything about these regulations, and it sounds like it hasn't impacted too much the drivers. Is that true?
It depends. There again, most of our freight that we do is not time sensitive. Most people don't want their furniture from point A to point B in a day. You're in the industry, that they don't want it there that fast usually. With us trade shows, sometimes they do, they're building something and it has to be there the next day. That's where we come in. That's when we are pushed a little bit. But again, I blame it more on shippers and receivers than I do the drivers themselves, because they hold them up more than anything.
They don't have the goods ready when you're there to pick it up or receive.
Or if it's going in, oh, you got another load of toilet paper. Well, toilet paper's in demand, or it was before. But before, if you'd go into a grocery warehouse, they're just like, oh, you got another load. Just go park over there, and we'll call you when we need you.
Okay.
That's not conducive to the wheels turning and you're making the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Sure.
That needs to change more than anything. The government wants to get involved in stuff. Go to the warehouses.
This is interesting right here. We got a few more comments here. I want to make sure we get through all of them. Janaína from Brazil says, I don't know any person in Brazil, but yes, we do have female truck drivers, and it's a really challenging career for women here due to security in every aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, Janaína. Thank you. Henri says he's talking about the owner operator. A basic cab costs anywhere between 100 to 150,000 before taxes. How much is it out there on your side? So what does a new, let's give a new and a used, right? Most people buy used probably, but what's a new cab, a truck? What's a new truck cost, and what's a used truck cost? Give us a range if you don't mind.
Well, the new ones are anywhere from $130,000 to $160,000, $170,000.
Wow.
Used one, if you're going to buy used, I tell everybody, if you're going to buy a used truck, 1, ask for the maintenance report. 2, look and see if it has any callbacks. 3, make sure to have your own mechanic go over it. And 4, have some money in the bank, because you're going to break down.
Wow. Those are some good tips right there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You sound like you're a wealth of information for new drivers, Cindy. I'm guessing you mentor a lot of new drivers.
Some, but not that many to be. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm on the Facebook. If they ask a lot of questions there, and hopefully we give them the answers that they need.
Tina,
Yeah.
what do you drive now? You were saying the Peterbilt was your first truck. I'm sorry?
I say mine's is used. I have a Kentworth.
Okay. Tina's
Tina's
having
over
some
there Tina's
difficulty.
making moves over there.
Yeah, what you do?
I don't know. I'm gonna mute Tina here real quick here. But okay. So then give us an idea then, Cindy, of what's a range for a used truck?
Well, for one thing, it depends on the year, of course. Depends on the miles. I mean, our truck right now, like I said, ours is an 01, and we don't run as hard as we used to. Our truck has about 2.5 million miles on it right now.
2.5 million miles. I want people to hear this, okay, in the comments there, okay, because y'all are getting ready to trade out your car at like 100,000.
Right.
These people have 2.5 million miles driven on it.
Well, now this is our second motor, so I will say that. But we've put a rebuilt motor in our truck, and it's about 4 years old. So I don't think we have that many miles on. You know, the chassis and the cab and all that. It has about 2.5 million miles on it.
What's some advice you would give to women watching this program, and maybe they're considering a career change or getting into trucking, or maybe they know somebody who might want to consider a career? Maybe they're going to forward this video to them. What type of advice would you give to women considering a career in trucking?
I guess one thing is, a lot of people say anybody can do it. Well, they can and they can't. One, you have to make a commitment. You know, it's not, it's all wine and roses. It's not. You know, it's a job. It might not be so much physically demanding, but it is mentally demanding, and you have to be ready for that, for one thing. And you know, start with a good company, for one thing. I mean, the company that I started with, Ed and I started with, was Schneider National. They were an excellent company to start with. There's a lot of good I call them starter companies, and a lot of people stay with them. You know, I mean, I know people that have been with Schneider forever, and they started there, and they're still there. Women can do this job. They don't think they can, but they can. I think the scariest thing that women come across is the size of it, to begin with, and the backing.
Mm-hmm.
And the backing is hard. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
I don't even like to drive my husband's pickup truck. I'm afraid to back that thing up. Yeah, well, I can't even imagine.
I mean, sometimes I can put it in the first shot. Next week, I could go back to the same spot, and I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. You know, it just works that way. Not everybody, you know, you can't be perfect all the time. You're going to have things happen. You know, I wish I could say that one of our friends, accident free, and she's been out here for almost 47 years.
Wow.
Good for her. I praise her to no end.
Does she go long distance?
Yes, she does. She's an owner operator, and she's one of our image team members as well. And she uses a comment that I really like. And she always says, that truck does not know what hand is on that steering wheel. Doesn't matter if you're male or female.
Mm-hmm.
That truck doesn't know what you are. The truck is a truck. It's a tool. And you have to treat it as such, but you also have to take care of that tool. Maintenance is important. You know, you see these newer trucks, and that's one of the reasons I won't put DEF on my truck, because a lot of the problems that they are having with these newer trucks is DEF.
What is DEF?
DEF is it's the cleaner for the carb. You know, it's a carb cleaner is what it's DEF is what it is. And apparently, see, now there again, I don't know that much about it because I don't have one, but it cleans the soot out of your motor, and the stuff that they use is also at the pumps, and there's a separate tank for it, and it burns the carbon out of the exhaust is the way I understand it anyway.
Got it.
Tell us about the image team.
The image team, Women in Trucking started an image team to, one, do what I'm doing right here, is to help spread the word of it, We work the truck shows. They do interviews. They do ride-alongs. A lot of the senators, a lot of the transportation people in Washington have ridden along with some of our image team members.
Okay. Wow.
So we try to put the word out what women in trucking is all about, and to try to get more women interested in this industry, and not just the trucking part of it, or the driving, I should say the driving part, but the owners of the companies, the mechanics, the brokers, the dispatchers, the safety people. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities besides drivers in this trucking industry.
Makes sense.
This is great. Brenda Thoney Johnson said, love to see women in these non-traditional roles. Very interesting. Deb Labrie says, hours of service is not a one-size-fits-all. Different freight and different platforms are impacted differently.
That's true. Very
she
true.
goes on to say, we are speccing a 2022 Volvo. Its current cost $164,000. That's nice.
Yes.
So that would be their third truck then.
Correct.
Wow. They're really loving this owner-operator
Yes,
business.
they are. Yes, they
So
are.
Deb,
and they're very good at it. Let me tell you, they are very good at it.
So Deb, if you're watching this right now and you're running, are you still running too? Is this your third truck you're going to be running concurrently? And then how are you juggling that with other drivers and put drivers in that truck? I'm curious to hear your experience there. Let's see. Hey, welcome back, Tina.
Hi, sorry about that. It did an update and shut off on me.
No worries. No worries. Let's see here. Henri says we have ELG in Europe too. The rest duty times are different though.
Yes, I understand that.
Oh yeah, that's what I want to ask you guys. Sorry, Michael.
Just saying. He's just saying get there safe, ladies. Go ahead.
Do you have to take continuing educational classes type of thing as a driver?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm sure, one, I will say though, if you pull hazmat, which is hazardous materials, you have to, which we don't do here, but if you do take, if you do hazardous materials, you have to do continuing on that. Yes. Okay. So
we've got a couple more comments here. Marco says we have several women drivers who are hauling cars for us. They are amazing at what they do and appreciate all the challenges they face to ensure our customers get the very best service available.
Good.
Let me ask y'all. I know you haul mostly trade show. You ever think about getting in the household goods game? This is my pitch, Janet. You ever think about getting in the household goods game?
I am. I'll start my training this winter.
Nice, Tina. We need more professional. Well, they call them professional van operators in some van lines, but we need more women, I believe, in the home, driving these trucks, delivering these shipments. Just because I just feel like that. So I start pitching Tina on a gig, and she just all right, Tina, I get it. All right, Tina, I see how it is. Okay, fine. No, but no, I think that's just I think our transferring employees and their families would really just love to have a female driver.
Well, yeah. I mean, Corrigan, I know they have women packers. I know they have a crew, and most of them do have women on their crews. But there again, Ben, some of the heavier items is going to be tougher for a female to move. But if you have a crew, it ain't gonna make no difference.
Yeah, I think yes. Let's unpack that for a second. No pun intended. Yeah, I mean, you face a gun safe, right? And you're screwed if you're a man or a woman. Okay,
well,
it's a gun.
I know, but the refrigerator, the washer, the dryer, the stove.
Yeah,
the piano
items.
You got dollies, you got help. I think that I think a lot of these guys are getting by with one crew member or one crew member when there might be items if it was a female driver that might require two crew members versus one. And to Tina's point earlier, and I think this point cannot be stressed enough, the cost of this labor. It used to be $15 a day, and then it was $100 a day, and then it was $150, and it was $200, and now you're hearing rumors of guys charging $300 a day, for help. And I mean, that extra crew member on a job is
That takes a lot. That takes it away from the driver, or the owner.
That's right. It's out of the driver's pocket. And I mean, if on 25% of the jobs, a lady driver might need an extra crew member and at $200 a day, I mean, that could really eat into her margin.
Sure.
And I just go back to our clients who are watching right now. And if you buy, household goods corporately, or trade show or anything, just be cognizant of the driver and what they're taking home, and just make sure, what I would love to see? I would love to see a tariff item, a surcharge in there that's tied to labor cost, and that's tied to the cost of cardboard as well for us household goods movers.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Because these things have gone way up.
Yes.
And we have fuel surcharges. We might have an insurance surcharge, but there's no labor surcharge and there's no cardboard surcharge. And these things have just doubled, tripled, over the last 10 years.
Well, yeah, and because packing materials are expensive too. You've got plastic, you've got, the bubble wrap, you've got the paper to wrap the stuff in, and I mean, I know some about it, but I don't know a lot about the household part of it.
Well, and it doesn't take an expert to know. Everybody is buying stuff off Amazon, and the cardboard is just in such high demand right now. Corrugated, which is what's made, makes boxes, and craft paper, which is basically some of the similar material. And so just keep that in mind, because all of that cost comes out of the driver's pocket. And I don't think a lot of people don't know that, but the cost of fuel, the cost of cardboard, the cost of all that paper, all that material, the cost of the truck, the insurance, the labor, it all comes out of people like Cindy's pocket.
And you brought up during COVID, all the gloves and sanitary gels.
I will say Corrigan shipped some of that stuff out to us. They shipped masks and gloves, out to us. So
good.
that helped a lot. They gave us a lot of that stuff. So I give kudos to them for that.
That's good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Henri says, my father-in-law in Virginia is an occasional truck driver. He told a few good stories too. He must have his truck paid off if he's an occasional truck driver.
I guess so, yeah.
Just, take her out for a spin every once in a while.
Yeah.
Pick up a load every once in a while. Jennifer Anderson says, I was shocked so this is interesting. Jennifer Anderson says, I was shocked when I first started handling household goods claims that there are chargebacks for damages. How do owner-operators prepare for money taken out of their pay for claims that might not get paid for months to a year later?
That's part of doing business, and that's part of the packing issues. You want to pack it. There's a lot of stuff that, like family keepsakes and stuff like that are very precious to people. I would like to see them haul it themselves so that they're responsible for it. Plus if the client packs it, that relieves the driver or the packers from doing it. And then they're not responsible for the damages, the way I understand it. If the people pack it themselves, that's on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, unless there's damage to the exterior carton, or let's say.
Right, exactly.
Crushed,
yes.
and the music box is crushed inside, then that makes sense. But if the box is intact, and you're right, it's called a PBO, packed by owner, right?
Exactly.
So we basically don't. However, on the military has no PBO, so all those boxes are supposedly supposed to be opened, inspected, repacked as necessary, and then closed. But yeah, so I mean that's basically because what people were saying was, hey, that's PBO, and they're like, well, you still shook it a million times, and whatever. And so they said, well, there's no more PBO. You have to open, inspect, repack and basically certify it for shipping. Now that's not, that's just on some contracts, and it is true with the military, U.S. military. So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. But no, it's a good point. But yeah, I mean, these claims, that's another thing that comes out of the driver's pocket that people don't realize, and we have, we were just moving a gentleman 2 weeks ago for a very large national account for a Fortune 50 company. And we said, we were doing a walkthrough afterwards, for relatively minor claim, and we said, just make a note of that on the claim form. Oh, I know how the claim process works. I filed a $25,000 claim last time and got paid on all of it. And so these people, they kind of realize that, and sometimes they start to they say, oh, I'm moving. Okay, I guess I get a new dining room set and a new TV and a new, but they don't realize that comes out of the driver's pocket. And I think if they knew that, they wouldn't want to take it out of y'all's pocket. But
well, I would hope not. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And so shout out to Jennifer, because her company Claim Shield, I'm going to give her a quick plug here. Her company Claim Shield actually works with drivers to help them fight those chargebacks. So if that condition was already listed, oh, there was a chip on this was broken, whatever on the inventory, she goes back and she fights for the driver to get that money.
Awesome. Good.
That would be my word of advice to you, Tina, that you're going to get into household goods. It may seem like a lot of paperwork, but always do your conditions. Always do a bingo sheet if you're offloading and reloading, and take an itemized inventory, because it covers your CYA.
Yep.
Exactly.
I know what that means. I used to be a police officer.
So here we are. This has been a great conversation. I want to just kind of ask you, just in closing, I want to ask each of you to leave us just kind of with a word or a final thought. Tina, would you like to just give us a final thought about, for people that might be watching?
Well, I just think that everyone should just be courteous to each other out here on the highway. Give everybody space and room, so that we all can survive to see the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Wonderful. Tina. Thank you. Cindy, what about you?
Well, I said it before, the phone is a wonderful thing, but you don't need to do it in the car. Put it down. There's nothing, it says that there's a sign out on the highway that says, it can wait. It can. Really, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
So put it down, pay attention, and be safe, please, all of you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, Tina, Cindy, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate all the hard work y'all do out there, and just, taking care of all these shippers. I just can't say enough. Thank you so much. From all the moving companies, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
It's so nice to meet you guys too.
And thanks to everybody that was active in the comments, leaving those questions, those comments. I appreciate it. We couldn't have done this without you out there. So go ahead and hit that like button one more time. Give yourself a round of applause. And Janet, well done.
Oh, I'm done now. That's it. My week is over. Thank you, ladies, for the great finale. And it's been great.
Thank you.
Everybody, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Love and Relo and getting active in there. And have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Take care.
Bye, guys.